Have you ever experienced a moment when you knew with certainty that this was a moment you'll long for later? That you'll always look back on fondly and nostalgically? Wouldn't it be nice to somehow capture and save these moments? Preserving memories has always been a priority for me. As a child, I hated change. It made me sad as I saw it as a moment in time being over forever, and losing it scared me. I still remember crying for hours when we changed the furniture of a living room. So trying to somehow save each moment, somewhere safe, became a lifelong goal for me. Memories can change, and they can even be lost. But the documentation may help revive them or keep them alive. So in this video, I want to share with you my 3 favorite ways of documenting my life, as ordinary and boring it may be. The first habit you probably heard of a trillion times. It is the classic way of documenting your life, keeping a diary/journal. I had a diary when I was a kid. This one. And let me tell you, there are some gems in this. When I read back in this, I'm not that sure if I really should document my life, because that's embarrassing. It's really embarrassing, but it's still kind of cute to look back on it. I had a few pictures in it. I have a few drawings even, or sketches to explain the situation more. And I used nice glittery pens. It's really cute. So this was my diary that I had when I was a kid. Each entry started with a "today was a blank day." Good day or a bad day or a funny day. That's how all my diary entries started. And I just wrote whenever I felt like it and about whatever I wanted to. But in no way I was consistent with it. There are week gaps, month gaps, even year gaps. Most of the time I had like 3 entries per year. That's how sparely I actually wrote in that. And that really frustrated me. Why preserve some of these memories and others not? And this all or nothing mentality eventually led to me giving up on my diary. However, years later I met someone and she told me that she is keeping a diary, basically in a calendar, and she writes in that every single day. And I thought that was so cool. I wanted to be that girl. I wanted to be the girl who writes a diary entry every single day, who documents every single day. So I stole that idea and I made that my personality. And ever since then, I consistently did that. This is my first calendar that I used for this. It's from 2012. And I'm gonna be honest with you, at first I was not very consistent. Like, here are a lot of blank pages in this. A lot of blank pages. The format of writing into a calendar solved a few of the problems that I had with the previous method of just writing into an empty book. Firstly, having only 1 page for every day, it reduced the obligation, the perceived obligation, to write as much as I can in as many details as I can into the diary, because there was limited space, so it didn't have to be that elaborate, and therefore it didn't take as long as writing in as many details as you can. That can take quite a lot of time, and we all are a little busy, aren't we? Secondly, seeing the dates on all the pages made me more committed and motivated to keep up writing every single day and to fill this book, because I didn't want to leave one day empty. It's a different thing if all the pages are already empty and you can just write the next entry after the last, even though 3, 4, 5, 10 months are between that. But if the date is already on the page, you have to write that day into that page. And leaving empty space in it, I didn't like it. So I was a lot more motivated to keep up with writing my diary every day. And thirdly, when I one day did not have enough time to write into my diary, I didn't have to figure out how much space I should leave empty if I wanted to enter that entry at a later time when I was less busy, because there was already a page reserved for that day. So even when I forget or when I didn't have time to write an entry on that day, I can still do that days later, even weeks later, because there's the space empty that wants to be filled. I think starting from 2013, 14, 15, around that time, one of these years was my first year where I really completed the calendar. Every single day I had written something. I had the whole year documented, and that was an awesome feeling. Like, that was an achievement. I was really proud of myself for doing that. But since then, I basically accomplished it every year. Maybe not completely, I'm not quite sure. Maybe there are 1 or 2 days per year that are empty, but they're mostly filled, and it's awesome to read back. I once had an incident with someone who claimed that I had said or done something, or that something happened, and I could look back into my diary and I could read exactly what happened that day, and he was wrong. I was right. And I could prove it because I have documented it. But that's the thing though, you should not lie in your diary. That would kind of defeat the purpose. So, and please don't get me wrong, these diaries, these calendars are nothing you would want to read. They're the most boring thing you could ever read, because I just document my daily life. Most of the entries go like, well, I woke up at 7 a.m. in the morning, I put on my makeup, then I had my morning coffee, and so on and so on. Like, it's not very interesting, but it reflects my day. Most of my days are just simply boring, and it's the same thing over and over again. I'm not writing a novel. I'm not writing for anyone else to read it and think this is very interesting. I'm writing to just document my life. It doesn't have to be interesting. My life isn't always interesting. And if I only document the exciting and spectacular days, then that's not a real reflection of my life. But it's still nice to look back a few years and see how my daily life has changed. Even though I feel like I'm writing the same thing again and again and again, day after day after day, I know that there are differences because I discover new hobbies, new interests, and those I mention in my diaries. And then I can look back, since when did I start doing that? And during that time, I often did this, like I had a different sports routine. I was riding the bicycle a lot more, or stuff like that. And seeing these changes over the years is still very interesting, and that makes it worth it for me. The second habit I cultivated over the years is carrying a camera with me everywhere I go. Wherever I go, I always have a camera, and I don't mean my phone. I know there's a camera on my phone and I can take pictures on my phone, but that's different because I don't look at the folders. I don't look at the folders in my phone that often. I really don't. Maybe you do, but for me, snapping pictures with my phone just feels different. I got the inspiration to do this from one of my absolute favorite video games that was released in 2015. Life is Strange. In the game, the main character, named Max, carries around a Polaroid camera wherever she goes, and the game gives you photo opportunities where you can take pictures with the Polaroid, and if you at the end of the game discovered all of them, you give it a little achievement. And sometimes you really have to look for these pictures, like you cannot rush through the game or you will miss some of these opportunities. Sometimes she takes pictures of the most random things. And I love this. I want to be that girl who carries a camera wherever, whenever, and takes pictures of the most random things just to document it, to document the moments, the places that I can't describe in the diary, for example. Like, I can't say where I was, but it's nice to see where I was and to see what I saw that day. I want to be that girl who just takes pictures of everything, and like in the game where you would miss photo opportunities if you just rushed through it. I want to take time in my life to hold and take pictures of the moments, of the beauty of the moments I'm in at the time. I don't want to rush through my life. That's the inspiration I took. And at first, the camera I took around with me was a disposable camera, or more like 22, not at the same time, but I had more than one because it's disposable. If you're out of shots, that camera is gone. So in total, I had about 20 to 22 disposable cameras. They look similar to this, and you get them here at the drugstore. Simple, compact, small, fits in every bag, easy to carry around. That's why I chose it. And also, I would have preferred taking a Polaroid camera with me, just like Max did in the game. However, the film for Polaroid cameras isn't really cheap. Actually, it's quite expensive. And since I started when I was a teenager, I went to school, I didn't have a job, I didn't have money to spare on film that much. So at the time I thought disposable cameras would be cheaper, but still gave a different feel from just taking pictures with my phone. So I did that for, I think, 2 years? 2 or 3 years lasted. I bought a big package of disposable cameras. I think it was designed for weddings to give out to guests, and I just used them all by myself. But it was a huge pack, and I think it took me 1 to 2 or 3 years to fill them all and to develop them all. And during that time, I learned that with having to pay for the film to be developed, and not every picture in a film, in a disposable camera, coming out, like not every shot worked. Not that it's ugly, it's just unusable because it's just black or something else went wrong. So you would lose a lot of the pictures in a film. I realized that it wasn't really much cheaper than just using an instant camera. So I decided to switch to instant cameras. However, I still didn't use a Polaroid camera. I chose Instax, Fujifilm Instax. So in comes the Instax White, because I wanted the picture to be as big as possible. At the time, there was only the white format and the mini format, and I preferred the white format because the mini is just too mini for me. I don't really like it. But as you can see, this thing is quite big, and it is also quite heavy. So carrying it around was a hassle. However, I still did that for maybe a year or two. Maybe not that long, I'm not quite sure. So after a while I gave in and bought a camera that shoots mini film. This is her, the Instax Mini 70. I called her Max. I thought it was funny or clever because I got the inspiration to do this because of the character named Max. So I called my camera Max, and I put a sticker over the Instax so that you get it. But then in 2017, yes, Instax announced a new format, the square format, and it has the iconic square framing like the Polaroids, although it is a little smaller. But I was obsessed, and they released a camera with it, and that camera was perfect for what I wanted. It was perfect for me because this is the Instax SQ10. I call her Raven, and this baby is a hybrid camera. So the camera itself is digital, although you can print out your pictures instantly if you want to. I thought this was genius. Of course, there are people who don't like it because it defeats the purpose of an instant camera if it is not instant, if it is a digital camera. But I loved it because for me it had only positives. I could take multiple pictures and choose which one I wanted to print out, because not every photo turns out great. And that way, by only choosing the good ones, I could save so much money on film. And another bonus, when I take pictures of other people or with other people and they liked the picture and wanted to have the picture as well, I can just print them out their own copy without having to give the one and only original that an instant camera takes, because I can print each photo as many times as I want. I don't have to give up the original. And I love that. And another thing is, when I'm out and about, I can just take pictures and wait till I get home to print out the pictures without having to worry where to store them. Because that's a little tricky as well. If you use an instant camera and you're out on the party, like, where do you put the picture so that you can keep it safe and it will survive the night and you will have it still tomorrow? The chances of losing it or damaging it are quite high. Not with this. Not if I just simply wait until I'm home to print them out. So for me, this camera was perfect. I love it. And this baby, ever since, has been the one I carry around with me everywhere, every day, any minute. I've taken quite a lot of pictures with this. And the people know me for this. Like, they're asking me, do you still carry around the camera? And I say, of course. Here it is. So I've accumulated hundreds of pictures over the time. I have so many folders and albums full of pictures from the disposable camera days through the different Instax formats. I have so many pictures and I love it so much to browse through them, to look back into them. I still find pictures that I don't remember, and that's the whole purpose. Like, this keeps my memories alive or brings back memories that I would have otherwise lost completely. And I look at those albums a lot more than through my albums on my phone. The third method is a rather new method for me, and it is taking videos. I am honest, as it is still very new, I'm not that consistent with it. I'm not taking videos every day. I'm not taking videos of everything. And it's still a struggle for me to make a video out of all the snippets that I take. Because in the end, it's not really nice to have a folder with like up to 10-second snippets of videos. Nobody's gonna watch that. Like, I have to, or I want to put them into one cohesive video that is basically like a diary entry, but visually and in form of a video, not just pictures. For that, I use the little camera that I'm filming on right now. It is the Sony ZV-1, also known as the vlogger camera. And I like it because it is compact and small and I can take it with me wherever I go. It fits in almost all my bags, although it is sometimes a little crammed with this guy in there as well. And I don't take this filming camera everywhere. I would be a little afraid of losing or damaging it, so yeah. But it is compact and I can take it with me if I want to. And although it is tricky to find the time to make a cohesive diary video out of it, I think it is still worth it, even if I don't find the time all the time. It's just another format of preserving memories, and I think it is still worth it. Maybe I will find a way to make this process easier, or I'll be able to incorporate it a little bit better into my monthly schedule. Maybe I find an easier way to do it, or maybe I'll switch up the format. I don't know. That might change over the time as well, just like all these formats have gone through phases. The diary like this, to calendars, from disposable cameras to instant cameras. This is maybe just the first stage of making a video diary. Maybe this will develop into something more. We will see. And that's it for this video. These are my methods of documenting my life. And I think everyone should document their lives, at least to some extent. So if you want to incorporate these habits into your life as well, or just one of these, two of these, take this as an inspiration, because I didn't came up with most of these myself either. I got inspiration somewhere and I just incorporated that into my life. And so can you. Maybe the way I do it is not ideal for you, but I hope you still are inspired to find a way to document your life, because it is meaningful. As ordinary and boring it maybe most of the time is, it is still meaningful. And when you're older, even 2 years, even just 2 years, like not even talking about when you're really old, I think it's nice if you have something to look back on. That's the beauty of preserving memories, and I recommend it for everyone.